So I've just got a start on these 4 studies. I just took an 18 by 24 mixed media paper and then divided it into 4 squares and just sort of started from there, and now I've cut them apart. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole push and pull of just painting intuitively and adding things, and also taking notice of things and then beginning to make decisions. Because with the series that I just painted, I had one realization, and that was that at this stage, I was very tempted to pick out things like, oh, I love that piece of paper right there. I definitely want that to show through. Or I love this little bit of sky. So identifying things that you love is obviously, it's essential, it's not a problem, but it's also good to know when to do that. And really only you can figure out for your own process when that is. For me, what I figured out is that it's usually at this stage that I really want to pick out lots of things that I want to show through at the end. When actually, it is my glazing process that I come in and I start adding these glazes over things almost indiscriminately, and that more than anything else wound up directing where the painting was going to go in a really good way. So it's a balance for me to find the things that I really love and want to keep or want to have be prominent, but also allow that sort of indiscriminate adding of glazes to happen so that it can take the painting forward. So I'll talk about my process a little bit here. What I'm doing is just sanding the collage papers that I have put on these paintings to just take out the ridges and the wrinkles so that when I do glaze over them, it doesn't catch on all of them. It can be more of a smooth application. So here I have some transparent white, and I've added in my glazing medium, which is golden satin glazing liquid. And now I'm experimenting with a spatula that I bought. I'm always looking for new tools to spread paint, and I like to get ones that have all different shapes and surfaces so I can find interesting ways to move the paint around and make marks. So that's what I'm doing here, and I'm being pretty indiscriminate about how this goes on, because like I said a minute ago, I've realized that this glazing process, it's not something that I plan out or am putting glazes in a certain place for a very specific reason. I'm just sort of acting intuitively, and it's not meant to represent anything really. I'm just putting them on without really thinking too much about what it's going to look like. So it's only after I've put it on and really let it dry that I really look at it and evaluate. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to be free and not try to protect anything, because that's where I always get in trouble. If I try to protect things too soon, then I wind up getting stuck. And that's the opposite of what I want to happen here. I want to be very free-flowing. I really like painting intuitively and then stepping back and looking at what has emerged and then coming up with a plan from there, instead of trying to plan and direct the whole thing from the outset. Now, I don't do very well with that. Now, that might work great for you. That might be your best scenario for creating. But for me, it does the opposite. And so, again, this is highly personal. It is about what works for you. And the only way to really figure that out is by doing. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm taking these acrylic inks that I've mixed up. I generally don't use acrylic inks right out of the bottle. The hues are too pure, and I like to mix them A lot of times I'll mix them with some black ink or another color to get a variation of colors that I like. So that's what you see me doing here with a very dark earthy red color that I probably made, I'm guessing, with some magenta acrylic ink and some black. So now I'm mixing that color with some transparent white and some glazing medium. And I'm just spreading it across the painting, and I'm not being fussy or trying to be neat at all. I'm even spreading it through other glazes and letting it interact, because generally what I've learned is that if I can do this, then I get something that is unlike any other painting I've made as far as subject matter and composition. It's sort of like just throwing a bunch of things up in the air, seeing where they land, and then giving yourself the challenge of working with that, as opposed to trying to throw up those pieces so they land in a particular place. So that's what's going on here, and I'm using different tools to really try to figure out what I want to do, how I want to move this forward, what interesting marks I can get that will give me something to respond to. Because it is in that response to what has sort of happened intuitively that then it makes sense for me to begin making methodical decisions about what happens next. And it's taken me time to figure that out. And so everyone is going to be very different in what they discover about their own process when they allow it to unfold in this way. So this whole idea of trying to make a pretty painting right from the get-go of coming up with a new process is not only unrealistic, but it sort of takes the discovery process out of it, which that's really, to me, what is fun about being an artist, is the discovery of what it is I'm making, how it is I make it, what my different stages of decision making and involvement are, and what they're like. And to me, that's what makes it interesting. It's what keeps me coming back. It's what keeps me moving forward. And so it doesn't surprise me that that's just what this process is like in the details of it. It's very much like what I like about the entire process of creating. So now I've just got some white transparent paint, and I'm putting some in the sky area and also blending it into that dark area in the left, because I've discovered that I love those white glazes over really dark areas. You get some incredible effects with those white transparent glazes. Now I'm just doing some mark making in these wet glazes to give myself even more to respond to, because that's really way more fun than planning it out from the start. So now these glazes have dried, and I just wanted to show you how it really opens things up, actually. Before, all I could see were these separate things that I had put on here, the inks, the different papers, and they were calling for me to get attached to them. When really you put on these glazes and you begin to see things that you didn't see before. Like, for instance, this glaze that I just put over this area where there were some dark marks right there, and I didn't really want them, or I didn't care about them, I should say. So I just glazed over them, and now I'm sort of looking at them and thinking, those really look like trees in the distance, and I see some trunks of trees that I can highlight and do something with it. It just sparks your imagination about what could happen there and where to move next. Same thing with this one. I did a bunch of glazing in the sky and went over some of this dark area, and it really brought this tree area to life for me. And made me want to sort of express some trees back here, like going off into the distance, whereas maybe there's one up here that's closer. So I didn't have that idea before. The glazes are what opened that up for me. And this glaze right here really shaped the movement of the land, and that was just a random mark. The glazes can really help you find what direction to go next. Same thing here, it unified all of this down here. I went over some of this dark area, and now I'll have something that I can develop here in this landform, whereas before it was just, you know, sort of a unified strip across the whole thing. And lastly, I put some white down here in the land, and I thought maybe I can make a water area or something. But the glazing will really add a whole element to your paintings that allow you to then maybe make more decisions about what's important to keep, what you want to highlight, what you want to minimize. And this is really something you just have to find out for yourself. It just depends on where you are also with your process. Like when I was first starting my landscape exploration to find this process, I put extreme limits on myself, and in no way did I allow myself to protect anything. That was essential for me to find something new, to get past my former boundaries, and to really free up my marks and what I was doing. Well, now I'm sort of into my process. I actually have an order that I do things, and because of that, it's more appropriate that because I have a process, now I can begin to fine-tune within that process what I pay attention to, when I determine what my highlights are, when I am indiscriminate with the paint that I put on the page. It all has a place, and I'm just at the place right now in this process where I'm figuring that out. So I hope this is a little helpful with you thinking about your own work and where to take it next, where it is that you put limits on yourself, where it's helpful to not worry at all about what you do next, and where you can start to be more discriminating about your choices. So if you are just beginning to work with landscapes or really want to loosen up your landscapes, I have a class called Mixed Media Collage and the Intuitive Landscape, and I would love to have you join me. It is really a fun class. And as always, I'm so grateful and honored that you spend your precious time with me. Happy creating.